Welcome to Survivor Not by Chance. Thank you for listening to my podcast. I appreciate every one of you that do listen each and every week and tune in. As I say in each and every podcast, I am not a licensed therapist or a psychologist. I am here to share my story and just share what I've learned to help cope with some of the childhood trauma that I've been through, and hopefully some of the stories and some of the things that I've been able to learn can help someone moving forward. The title of this episode is called Kill the Enemy Within. That sounds weird, I know, but logically speaking, it makes a lot of sense when we think about ourselves, and as individuals, our objective is to grow every day. And sometimes in order to grow, we have to look within inside ourselves to determine what's hindering us inside, or what's hindering us from becoming a better person or growing each day. And sometimes it's our own self. A lot of times we have outside influences that determine how we look at ourselves on the inside. And how you view yourself determines how your life will be in regards to the outcomes of life. I believe I could be further along in life if I didn't look at myself as an enemy, or if I didn't allow outside influences to affect how I feel about myself. I'm a work in progress. Yes, I'm not there yet. I still have times where people may say things, and when they do say things, it affects me inside. It affects my emotions. It affects how I feel about certain things. It affects how I feel about people. It affects how I feel about myself. What I can say is, over the years, I was so into pleasing other people and making everyone else happy. I didn't take the time out to please myself and make myself happy. So I think this topic is very essential in inner peace and growth and becoming a better person, and learning in the journey that I am on. So I like to look things up as far as looking up definitions of words. So when I look up definition of words, it helped me understand and get clarity on things in order to figure out what I'm trying to learn. Even though I may know what the definition is because I've learned it over the years, I still try to look it up again just to get the additional clarity to refresh my memory about things. So I looked up the word enemy. According to Google, enemy is a person who is actively opposed or hostile to someone or something. Second definition of enemy is a thing that harms or weakens something else. Now, if we look at the definition of enemy, it says a person who is actively opposed. Or let's look at the other part where it says a thing that harms or weakens something else. You, as an individual, can harm or weaken yourself. We all may look in the mirror and say, oh man, my hair looks a mess. Or we may look at the blemishes on our face and say, oh, my face is horrible. I have all these scars and marks. Or we may look in the mirror and say, oh man, I gained a whole lot of weight. You've become your own enemy when you're saying these things to yourself. You're your own enemy. Let's look up the definition of kill. The definition of kill, according to Google, is to cause the death of a person, animal, or living thing. Second definition of kill is put an end to or cause the failure or defeat of something. I know this is going to sound like an oxymoron, but I love the second definition of kill, as it means according to this episode and what we're speaking of. And I'll bring it all together in a bit. But kill, the second definition means put an end to or cause the failure or defeat of something. The episode, we're talking about killing the enemy within. So we need to figure out how we can put an end to the thing that harms or weakens something else, which is we're going to figure out how we can put an end to us harming or weakening ourselves, which in turn will bring the inner peace, the joy, the love, the blessings, the riches upon riches that we speak of, the things that we want to be successful. But before we can do those things or have those things or obtain those things, we need to kill the enemy within us. We need to find out the source of the problem that's causing us to weaken ourselves by us speaking negative things about ourselves. How did that come about? So let's go back to the childhood trauma. When you were a child, think of something that could have caused you to think of yourself in a negative light. For me, when I was a child, I was called Hungry Hippo. So, as a result, I thought I was fat. I was the skinniest kid out there compared to all of my cousins and the kids in my class. I was small. I was super skinny. My metabolism was on all-time high. I wish I had it now, but I was super skinny. But I thought I was fat. Even the adults will call me Hungry Hippo. I also did not have a good idea of the way I looked physically. I was never told I was pretty. I was never called beautiful or princess or queen or anything like that. I would always hear, "You look just like your father. You look just like your father. You look just like your father." Okay, I get it. I look just like my father. But a young girl needs to hear, "You're beautiful. You look nice today. Your hair is pretty today. You smell good." Those actually develop the confidence. It develops the confidence that the young lady or young woman will need to have when she becomes a full-grown woman. I didn't have those things. So for me, I was used to those negative connotations of you're fat, you're not so beautiful, you look like a man. That's actually what they were telling me, not realizing those things affected me up into my adulthood. For a long time, I didn't think I was beautiful. For a long time, I didn't think I was pretty. For the longest of time, even in my adulthood and college years, I was like a size 5. I just knew I was fat. I worked out all the time. You couldn't tell me I wasn't gaining weight. I mean, it really bothered me. But if you think about society now, it still exists to this day. These women are on television shows portraying themselves to look a certain way because they're getting surgery. Or if they're not getting surgery, they're working themselves out to death in the gym. I'm not saying that it is absolutely okay to be obscenely obese and have health issues and health scares and health problems and you don't do anything to correct it. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is we need to put more positive words into our children, because what we put into them is what comes out in their real lives when they become adults. And sometimes we wonder, how did this person become bulimic? How did this person become anorexic? Where did that come from? Or how did this person continually overeat? Where are these things coming from? It's coming from their childhood trauma. Something triggered in their mind to make them believe they had an issue with their body, and as a result, they're doing the most extreme things and developing these sicknesses and illnesses that they cannot heal from because of the childhood trauma. Now, the body issue is only one example. The facial appearances, or believing you're beautiful or not believing you're beautiful, that's two different examples. There may be another example for someone else, but it hasn't come to my mind. But you think of what your enemy is. What could be your enemy within yourself? I'm just coming up with the common things that I know that affected me. Now, with all of these things, a lot of times so many people have low self-esteem. And that's a part of that enemy inside you. Low self-esteem is a huge enemy. There are so many adults. If you think about people who are millionaires, I'm not talking about people who are well off. I'm talking about millionaires. There are millionaires who have low self-esteem. You cannot pay to fix low self-esteem. That's an enemy within. You cannot pay to fix it. No matter how much money you have, no matter how much real estate you have, no matter how many businesses you have, no matter how many people you know, how much you network, you can never pay to fix low self-esteem. You can go to therapy on top of therapy. You can get all of the books. You can get everything that you can think of to try to fix low self-esteem. But if you don't do the work with those things, it will never be fixed. I looked up the definition of low self-esteem. According to Google, it's characterized by a lack of confidence and feeling badly about oneself. People with low self-esteem often feel unloved, awkward, or incompetent. So here's another example of an enemy within. Incompetency. Incompetency is a huge enemy. Someone can be the smartest person in their class, and they still don't think that they know enough. They may think, oh, well, I'm always wrong. I'm going to get it wrong anyway. Or they may say, well, I mess up all the time anyway. Things like that. Someone who's incompetent may not necessarily be incompetent, but they may seem incompetent because they lack the self-esteem to have the confidence that they need to portray the information that they want to portray to another person or to themselves, or believing in themselves. A lot of people who are portrayed to be incompetent just don't have self-esteem. They have low self-esteem and they need to have it increased, or they need someone to help them increase it. I am learning inner peace. I am coming to terms with having inner peace. And I'm 35 years old. It took me a long time to come to terms and feel, no matter what someone says about me, guess what? I know my heart and I know I'm a good person. I used to feel bad when I told people no. I used to feel like a horrible person if I had to decline